Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. I am at a slightly different angle than I was before. I don't really understand what happened. Anyway, I'm going to be doing my February reading wrap-up, parts 1 and 2. I will be doing part 1 today and part 2 tomorrow. So, let us dive in. So, I read 20 books this month. I wanted to read 25, but it didn't get there, and what you gonna do? I couldn't say that I read a lot of, like, larger books, so like 500 to 600 to like 1,000 pages. I didn't read those, but I did read like substantial like 300 to 400 page books. So I did do a lot of reading. It was a lot of thought and a lot of processing, and a couple of them took me longer than I wanted them to because I was really enjoying them. I'm one of those people that it takes me longer to finish a book I love than it takes me to finish a book I don't. But that's beside the point. So I'm gonna go in order from least to most enjoyed. I enjoyed most of these, but some of them just fell a little flat for me. This book was sent to me for review by Groundwood Press. This is a book that talks about PTSD and the effects that war has on a person. This book is about a girl named Twyla who is in her senior year of high school, and in order to graduate, she has to do 40 hours of community service. Now, she lives in a mostly military-based community, and so her idea of community service is to help a vet kind of deal and cope with his day by like helping him do little odds and ends and things. And she meets this vet, and he is grumpy and rude, and he's really, really agitated, and he is prepping for doomsday, and she is just completely flabbergasted by his behavior and thinks it is completely unnecessary. She also feels as if war is a bad thing and it shouldn't happen, so she doesn't understand the idea of going into the military and why you would do that. The story kind of progresses from there. It talks about both perspectives. It talks about the perspective of somebody who went to war and experienced it and firsthand saw some of the most horrific things on the planet, and then also someone who really feels that war is completely immoral and wrong and really shouldn't be happening. I really liked this book in some ways, but in other ways I felt it kind of lagged. I didn't find the characters as believable as I would have wanted them to, and I felt that there was some kind of really darker topics touched upon, but they didn't dive as deep as they could have, and I just felt it was not perfect. I just didn't feel it was exactly what I wanted it to be. So there's that. Then we have A Guide to Being Bored by Ramona Ashbel. Now, I was sure I was going to love this. This is what you guys voted on for me to read next in my short story collection out of the ones I hadn't read. This one won that vote that you guys all put in. And only 4 people voted for it. I didn't really get a lot of votes. So this won because 4 people mentioned it versus other ones that were like 3 people mentioned it or like 2 people mentioned it. But this one was the one that was mentioned the most as requested, and I felt that the writing in this was beautiful, really well done. I really enjoyed most of it. However, I felt that some of the stories just didn't captivate me. I felt very much like they were forgettable. In this time, I really can't remember a lot of the stories that were in this, and I feel really bad about that, but I just don't have strong connection to any of the stories in here, and I feel really distant and disconnected from it. Personally, I love the cover. Love the cover, and I do plan to read more of Ramona Ashbel's work because I did like how she wrote, but I didn't like these stories. Just didn't like them. Slut Ever by Carly Scuritino. This is a memoir / manifesto of a woman who does a lot of things that are considered slutty, and she is trying to reclaim the term slut and just be more comfortable with it and feel less disgusted by it and feel more empowered by it and find harmony with the title and herself. I really liked this book. I thought it was really well done, really well executed. It's very sexually empowering, and it has a lot of really good points about things like double standards and the idea of what is slutty behavior and why slutty behavior isn't actually bad behavior. It's just different. I really enjoyed this, so I recommend it. James Baldwin, Go Tell It on the Mountain. I read this with Krysten, Sarai, Hilary, and Amanda, whose channels I will link all down below. I really enjoyed reading with them, but the book itself I was not that crazy about. I like James Baldwin's writing, and I definitely will read more James Baldwin. I just didn't love this book. It was really hard to read. It was jumping around in perspective, which was kind of messy to me. It felt very much like a debut novel. It was not my favorite sort of thing to read. It felt dark and twisted, and it talked a lot about religion and the experience of religion and what it can do to a person, being saved and all of those things. It just wasn't for me. It felt really disconnected, and I didn't love it. But I definitely can see the merit within this book, and I can see the point of it. It wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. The Sexsmith by Rachel Hills. I don't understand what this is. Like, can somebody tell me how, like, this must have happened during the move, because and it makes me so angry. So angry. All right. So this talks about sex, and it talks about the sex myth, and it dives into the ideas of hookups, one-night stands, relationships, intimacy, monogamy, relationships that are intimate but not labeled, things of that nature, what the millennials have kind of done to dating and what it looks like and what sex has kind of turned into. I found it really interesting and very empowering. I thought it was really well done and really well executed. The premise is super interesting and intriguing. You really get to learn a lot about sex and what it is and what's healthy and what's not, and what's looked upon as acceptable and what's not, and why certain things should be left as acceptable but they're not at this time. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well developed and really interesting. I definitely think if you are looking for feminist conversation, this is a good one, and I definitely think that this is just a really interesting book to dive into. It does also talk about different kinds of sex, safety in sex, things of that nature, condoms, all of those basics. So if you're not comfortable with sex, this may not be for you. But if you're interested in learning more about sex and what's going on in society with sex and what's comfortable for sex, then this is a good one. This is Just My Face by Gabri Sabi, and this is the memoir of the woman who played Precious in 2009. This is a comical, really interesting, in-depth look at the actress and her experience in the world as a plus-size Black woman. It was really empowering and bold and funny and brash and really sassy and fun. I really enjoyed it. I think that for a lot of people, this book is going to be very empowering and really talk about finding your own place and finding your own center and finding who you are and really leading a life that like encourages that and feels really true to yourself. I really liked this book, and I think that it's definitely one to read, and if she comes out with anything else, I will pick it up. Then this one, okay, I feel really conflicted on this one because I liked the book. I didn't like everything that was said. This is Rose McGowan's Brave, and this book has some controversy surrounding it that is really intense. Rose has been accused of being transphobic and accusing women that are trans that they are not really women and that they haven't done anything for women in society. I disagree with that. I think that trans women are women and have the right to claim womanhood, and that they are allowed to be a part of the women's society and be labeled a woman, and I think that they are women. However, I think that in this book there are some really valid points about cultural brainwashing that are going on in society within the means of Hollywood. And I think that there is some really dark elements that are really hurting our society and our world that we need to address, that she brings up in topic. I think that the book has some merit to it and some really intellectual discussions. I will say that she does accuse a lot of people of being brainwashed by systematic cultures in Hollywood, which is kind of accusing her own audience of being brainwashed by saying that we're brainwashed to read her book, which is really ridiculous because we're reading her book because we support her from things like Charmed. It's really hypocritical, but at the same time, I think that she had some really interesting and valuable things to say. I would recommend reading it and giving your own opinions, and definitely taking into account that she has some opinions that are conflicting with, I think that there's some certain things about her that she almost doesn't understand, that she feels that way and that it's wrong. There's some ignorance to her that I really think she needs to work on, and I think she could overcome the ignorance and learn what is a more tolerant way of thinking. I think that you have to read it and decide for yourself what you think and see the value in the ideas that she has that are worth reading. But I don't think that it's one that I would recommend like going out in hardcover and picking up. I'm going to keep it on my shelf in hardcover. I do like it, and I am going to like keep it and probably reread it eventually. But overall, I think that for me, it wasn't perfect, and I felt that there was so many ideas that I couldn't get behind, but then there was other ideas that I really got behind, so it was a real mixed bag for me. This is Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is the story of Kambili, who is a 15-year-old girl who has this fanatic religious father. And military comes into Nigeria. She is sent to live with her aunt, where she starts to kind of find herself and experience life a little more, and find out that there is a family secret that she is unaware of. I really liked this book. I felt it was well done. I definitely will read more Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I feel like everyone's read this book, and I'm the last one to read it, so I don't really feel like I need to talk that much about it. Good book, though. Good book. Men We Reap by Jesmyn Ward. I was on a Jesmyn Ward and Octavia Butler kick this month. It is a problem. You will see in a minute. In my next video, it is a problem. I love this book, though. I think it is beautiful and really well done and really sad. This is Jesmyn Ward's nod to 5 men in her life that died of different circumstances and different reasons, but all having to pertain to their race and what she believes is happening to Black men in America. I really loved this. I thought it was beautiful, really well done, really well executed, full of some really intense emotions and feelings, and definitely felt sad and just really almost, it was hopeful, but it felt hopeless at times. But I really, really appreciated this book, and I felt really, really good about it. Like, it made me think a lot of things, and it made me really feel a lot of things, and I felt really strongly connected to it, and I love Jesmyn Ward. So there's that. And then there's This Will Be My Undoing by Morgan Jerkins, and I adored this book. This was fantastic. So this is the essay collection, memoir, yeah, essay collection. This is an essay collection that talks about being a Black woman in a mostly white privileged society, and it explores the ideas of feminism and what feminism has done for Black women and what it really focuses on being white women. It talks about growing up as a Black child. It talks about growing up as being a Black woman. It talks about the experience of being Black in America. It is really bold, really honest and raw, and really well done. I really loved it. I think that it's one that everyone should read. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, everybody. I think that it talks really openly about a topic that might be kind of washed over, and it really discusses how Black women are almost never in charge of their own self and body. There's always someone in charge of them, more so than themselves. And I really appreciated that sentiment and idea, and I really wanted to learn more. So I definitely recommend this, and I think that everyone should pick up a copy. So that is part 1 of this wrap up. Thank you for sticking with me this whole time if you have. If not, I understand, but if you haven't, then you're not going to be able to see this part, so oh well. Anyway, thank you again. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, comments, or quandaries, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I will see you all in my next video and part 2 of my February wrap up. Bye.